And then it shall be free.
What's up, everybody? It's Young with Day 2 of the Metal Gear Solid 5 Countdown Retrospective. And then it shall be free. In less than 2 days, people. It's been a long wait, but I'm telling you, it'll be worth it. For today's retrospective, I would like to take you all the way to E3 2015. When we left off, Konami and Kojima Productions had finally announced the September 1st release date for their highly anticipated title. That was March 4th, 2015. On that same day, they also announced various collector's edition for Phantom Pain. You can go to their website to check out all the details in terms of content. Alongside that, they also confirmed a Phantom Pain limited edition PlayStation 4, which looks sexy as hell, and will be coming out everywhere except North America for some reason. Damn it. The next day on March 5th, episode 34 of the Japanese Kojima Station was released, where Kojima unveiled for the first time that the game would feature customizable emblems. He also hinted at some kind of deep and detailed weapon system that Shinkawa put a lot of effort into. We would learn more about this during E3 2015. It was also confirmed that things like vehicles can be aesthetically customized as well. I would also like to shamelessly plug in that it would be during the month of March that Fragged Nation and I would join up for the first time to interview the various cast members of the Metal Gear franchise. On March 10th, we would do our very first interview together with the one and only David Hayter, who would share his thoughts and opinions on MGS5, among other things. I highly recommend you check out all of our interviews, which I have linked in the description below. They don't offer anything mind-blowingly new in terms of new details, but they do offer some cool hints and insight on MGS5 and its characters. Following these barrage of awesome announcements, it would only be a few days later, on March 19th, 2015, that rumors regarding the debacle between Konami and Kojima would instantiate. I actually made an entire video about this situation. Check out the highlights. What the fuck is happening? Something's going on over at Konami, folks, and none of it is good. It seems as though Hideo Kojima will be leaving Konami after he finishes developing the Phantom Pain. It all began with the release of a new executive appointments announcement, one which no longer listed Hideo Kojima as an executive officer. Then people began to notice that all of the Metal Gear related advertisement materials from all websites and social media no longer feature the Kojima Productions logo and no longer feature the tagline "A Hideo Kojima Game." Then Kojima starts notifying people that there's a new official Twitter for the Metal Gear series at MetalGear_EN. Finally, what was once known as Kojima Productions LA has been changed to Konami Los Angeles Studio. Naturally, major news outlets have reached out to Konami and Kojima for answers, and some consulted insider sources for confirmation. According to GameSpot and what they've learned from their sources, a power struggle between Kojima Productions and Konami has forced the publisher to make drastic changes, resulting in some sort of fallout between the two entities. The result is that senior staff and Kojima Productions in general are being restricted access to corporate internet, emails, and phones. Furthermore, key developers like Hideo Kojima will now have limited opportunities to lend their appearance to promote upcoming games like Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. The game will still be in development, but Kojima and senior staff are all working as contractors now, not permanent employees. Once the game is finished, management at the studio will be disbanded, and Kojima and staff will leave Konami. Their contract ends in December, according to GameSpot's source. Kojima isn't demotivated in delivering the best game possible despite all this, however, as GameSpot's source stated that in a meeting, Kojima explained to the team that they have to stick as one and make a good game for all the fans. When Konami was asked for a statement by multiple websites, their reply was simply, Konami Digital Entertainment, including Mr. Kojima, will continue to develop and support Metal Gear products. Please look forward to future announcements. News keep getting worse and worse, folks. Recently, Konami has posted a press release about the future of the Metal Gear franchise. According to the press release, it seems as though Konami's plan is to continue to make more Metal Gear games after the completion of Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain and after Kojima's departure. Now, what's interesting is that the press release labels future Metal Gear titles as part of a new Metal Gear series. It seems to me as though the Metal Gear franchise will be rebooted and continue without Kojima. In fact, Konami is already putting out job listings to replace Kojima and company, with the job category being New Metal Gear Production Staff. These new developments pretty much seal the deal and confirm rumors. Kojima will indeed be leaving Konami, the rights to Metal Gear will remain with Konami, and the Metal Gear series will be rebooted and continue with completely new staff members. The following information comes from Konami's official website, in which the company has released a statement for Western audiences detailing the future of Metal Gear. Once again, they reiterate that Konami will be developing a new Metal Gear series following The Phantom Pain, and they even go as far as to say that development on this series has already begun. That's apparent when you consider the job listings for the new Metal Gear series on the Japanese website. The statement also serves to alleviate concerns in regards to Metal Gear Solid 5's development. According to Konami, the game will launch as planned worldwide on September 1st in the Americas and Europe, and on September 2nd in Japan and Asia. Furthermore, Kojima himself also provided a statement stating the following: "I want to reassure fans that I'm 100% involved and will continue working on Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. I'm determined to make it the greatest game I've directed to date. Don't miss it." Adding fuel to the fire is the cancellation of Kojima Station, which was Kojima's way of directly communicating with audiences about Metal Gear Solid 5, among other things. There is no word on whether the cancellation is permanent or if the show will be back on sometime in the future. The only statement Konami has provided about the entire matter is that this is all part of a plan to centralize the Konami branding, but people aren't buying it, especially after what GameSpot's source leaked about the situation. Fortunately, one thing we know for sure is that Kojima remains in charge of Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. Development also seems to be progressing, as noted by this picture that Akio Otsuka posted through his Twitter, as well as a tweet by Stephanie Houston, which states the following: "Got to work with Big Boss again today. Been a while. It was good to see everyone. The team is working very hard towards the completion of V." The "been a while" bit has me thinking that development was halted for some time as this situation unraveled back in headquarters. The following information comes from the Japanese official Metal Gear Twitter, through which concerns about the recent troubling rumors in regards to Konami, Kojima Productions, Hideo Kojima, and the Metal Gear series as a whole were addressed. The tweets were naturally all in Japanese, but fortunately, website Kotaku has translated them. There were 3 tweets in total, which can be translated as follows: "In accordance with the recent change in production organization of all of Konami, Kojima Productions, as well as other internal production companies, has had its name changed, etc. Changed to move into the corporate headquarters work structure. The name and organization has changed, but as before, Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain is continuing as a work from director Kojima and the existing team members. The social networking account has also been changed, but the new account has the same Metal Gear team members as the previous one and is updating with the latest news. As the new members who are tweeting is unchanged, we would like your continued support and follows." Naturally, director Kojima is playing the game, checking all the small details and giving directions to the staff as the title continues completion. Bringing the thoughts and ideas of director Kojima in an open-world game of the size of The Phantom Pain is incredibly difficult. The director and the team that's been there before from the start are coming together as one as they aim to finish the game, so please give them the support they need. Basically, Konami is attributing incidents like the removal of all Kojima branding from Metal Gear promotional materials to internal rebranding, while reassuring fans of the series that Metal Gear Solid 5's development will not be affected. But they have yet to answer questions about the future of Hideo Kojima and the Metal Gear series, putting fans further on edge. Their hesitation on addressing concerns of the future directly is all the more reason to believe that there is some credibility to recent rumors that Kojima will be departing from Konami as a result of a fallout between the two entities, that Konami will retain the rights to Metal Gear, and that Konami will create a new Metal Gear series without Kojima. I don't want to spend much time talking about this, you know the rest if you've been following the news. Right now I just want to focus on the game. To finish off March, I would publish our interview with Troy Baker, where he would provide some cool insight regarding Ocelot and how the controversial elements of the game wouldn't just come from him. So let's move on to April. On this month, I would publish our interview with Christopher Randolph and Stephanie Houston on April 21st and 26th, respectively. It would also be in the month of April that the Dr. Canavero rumors would begin. Check out the highlights of the 2 videos that I would publish about the topic on the 19th and 22nd. Today, I want to present something very interesting that NeoGAF users discovered about the doctor who greets Snake when he wakes up from his 9-year coma. NeoGAF user Deadly Cyclone took the time to compile a bunch of information relating to this new theory. So what's this interesting discovery about the doctor, you ask? Well, NeoGAF users noticed that he looks identical to Dr. Sergio Canavero. They also noted that the two doctors sound very similar.
Yes, I know. You would like to know how long. I'm afraid it's been 9 years.
As everybody knows by now, the head will be cooled and there won't be a single drop of blood inside. So it will be clinically dead.
So who is Dr. Canavero? He is a real-life Italian neurosurgeon who's getting ready to carry out the first ever human head transplant. The patient who volunteered for this procedure goes by the name of Valery Spiridonov, a Russian game development supervisor who was diagnosed with a rare medical condition called Wernicke-Hoffmann disease. That's probably not how you pronounce it, but it'll have to do. Now, some of you might be thinking maybe it's a coincidence that these two individuals look and sound alike, but the coincidences get crazier. For example, the head transplant procedure itself is called Heaven, which fans were quick to connect with Big Boss's own Outer Heaven. Dr. Canavero's Heaven stands for Head Anastomosis Venture. Also interesting to note is that he recently did a TEDx presentation in Limassol, which is a city in the southern coast of Cyprus. Many fans have theorized that Cyprus will be a location in Phantom Pain based on the map of Cyprus that can be found on the wall of the hospital, and based on clues like the UK flag, which indicates that the hospital resides in a part of Cyprus owned by the UK. Fans' suspicions were further corroborated by files found within Ground Zeroes labeled Cyprus. What's interesting is that Limassol itself is very close to the UK sovereign area down south, which is where Phantom Pain's hospital scene is rumored to take place. Then there's the logo of Dr. Canavero's TED Talk, which looks like this. The tagline, "Everything you know is wrong," already rings alarms, but fans also noted that the logo itself features V's in a similar fashion to the Roman numeral found in Phantom Pain's logo, as well as similar aesthetics and color scheme. It was also noted that Dr. Canavero has a partner for his TED Talk, which is a game development company called Wargaming, which resides in Cyprus, more specifically Nicosia, the capital of Cyprus. Even more connections between Dr. Canavera and Metal Gear Solid 5 can be found in a patient case report. The report itself, as you can see, lists the doctor's name many times and talks about phantom limbs and phantom pain. NeoGAF users also discovered a scientific article that Dr. Canavero submitted on something called Gemini, which seems to be the name of the spinal cord fusion procedure for the Heaven project. What's interesting about this is that Gemini is also the name of the two African cyborg bodyguards who guarded the African Prime Minister from Metal Gear Rising, further connecting the Doctor to the Metal Gear series. Also interesting to note is that one of his earlier articles on Gemini was submitted on March 29, 2013. That's 2 days after Kojima's GDC 2013 panel on March 27, 2013, which was when Kojima finally confirmed that Phantom Pain was indeed Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Then there is Dr. Canavero's book titled Head Transplantation and the Quest for Immortality. If you look at the titles of the book's chapters, you'll find terms that Metal Gear fans will be very familiar with. The ones I've mentioned already include Gemini and Heaven, but then we have stuff like the Big Chill, which sounds a lot like the Big Shell, as well as the capitalized word Frontiers, which looks a hell lot like Frontier, which is what the F represents in MSF, Militaire Sans Frontières. Last but not least, I would like to direct your attention to this image of Dr. Canavero from a photo shoot he partook in. Not only does he have this 3D render aesthetic to him, making him look even more like the Doctor in Phantom Pain, but also the two doctors are wearing an attire with a near identical color. Furthermore, the image also shows a representation of the Doctor's work with head transplants, which goes in line with themes that will be featured in Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. One final detail to note is how controversial this procedure is. You can almost say it's taboo. The Heaven procedure truly does seem like something straight out of Frankenstein. This goes in line with what Hideo Kojima has stated multiple times before about Phantom Pain. It will cover many controversial topics as well as taboos. Who's to say that one such topic isn't head transplants? Keep in mind that this could all be one massive coincidence. Honestly, there have been crazier coincidences in this crazy world we live in, and Kojima did confirm in the past that the doctor in the hospital scene is modeled after English actor Ian Moore. Now, the cherry on top for all this is that Ian Moore's zodiac sign is Gemini, like the spinal cord fusion procedure. Theorists will have a field day with this, I'm sure, but I for one will trust Kojima and assume that the Doctor really is modeled after Ian Moore. You've got to admit though, the resemblances between Dr. Sergio Canavero and Phantom Pain's Doctor are striking, and the coincidences involving Dr. Canavero's field of work in relation to some of the themes of Phantom Pain almost make me think that there might be some kind of connection. In this video, I'll be sharing a few other crazy coincidences that were spotted by NeoGAF users. Let's begin by revisiting the TEDx logo. As mentioned before, it shares a variety of resemblances to the MGS5 logo, but something that a NeoGAF user discovered is that if you take the red piece and move it to the left, it completes the image of a V, which has been a big symbol throughout Metal Gear Solid 5's many promotional materials. Something that I noticed is that the Phantom Pain logo has done something similar, which features slots that fit certain symbols to reveal the true nature of the title. Something else that was noted about the TEDx logo is that it looks very similar to the scar on Snake's left eye, featuring the same V shape with one or more short lines crossing one of the sides of the V. Next, let's take a look at this picture. This is apparently the transplant patient's Facebook cover picture that a NeoGAF user posted. To your right, you will find Valery Spiridonov, but more interesting is the person to the left. Notice how his right arm is a prosthetic that looks very similar to the one Big Boss has on his left arm, further leading fans to assume that there is some kind of connection between Phantom Pain and Dr. Canavero and his Heaven research. Now, this one's interesting. Remember that poster of Phantom Pain from a while back showing a sort of X-ray vision of Snake? Notice how the head is the only part of Snake that is clearly being shown and detailed. Everything below is shown through this X-ray vision that almost makes the body look like a secondary thing. This has led fans to further suspect that head transplants may indeed be a part of Phantom Pain, with the assumption being that this further connects Metal Gear Solid 5 to Dr. Canavero and his Heaven research. Another NeoGAF user also noticed that Hideo Kojima tweeted something about Galaxy Express 999, which is apparently a sci-fi anime about how humans have learned to transfer their minds, but not their emotions, into mechanical bodies, thus achieving practical immortality, which falls in line with what Canavero is trying to do with head transplants. Hell, one of his books is called Head Transplantation and the Quest for Immortality. And speaking of the book, remember how one of the chapters is called The Big Chill? Well, that's also the title of a movie released in 1983 directed by Lawrence Kasdan. In September 4th of 2014, Twitter user @FilmTitleScreen posted a tweet about the movie. A NeoGAF user noticed that one of the people who retweeted this post was none other than David Hayter, the voice of Snake in previous Metal Gear entries. Next, I'd like to talk about the word Gemini. This word, which has multiple associations with the Metal Gear series, from the codename of the two African bodyguards in Metal Gear Rising, to the fact that Gemini is Latin for twins, was used by Dr. Canavero as a codename for a procedure for the Heaven Project. It not only appears on scientific articles involving his research, it also appears in his book, Head Transplantation and the Quest for Immortality. Now, what's crazy is that most recently, the word has made an appearance in Hideo Kojima's Twitter. Granted, the Gemini he was referring to is the new album from a band called The New Division, which comes out on June 23rd. But a lot of people are finding it hard to believe that it's a mere coincidence that this word popped up in Kojima's Twitter shortly after people began taking notice of Dr. Canavero and his Gemini procedure for the Heaven Project. Some have even gone as far as analyzing this tweet, theorizing that capitalized words like The New Division, Gemini, and Eyes could further hint at a connection with Metal Gear Solid 5. For example, people have associated the New Division with Diamond Dogs or Outer Heaven, which are both new divisions of Big Boss's army that stemmed from MSF's downfall. And the way the tweet says single eyes has been associated to how Big Boss only has one eye. There are also those who took notice of the album's cover art. The art style, for example, has similar characteristics to some of the visuals found in Snake Eater. Furthermore, it was also noted that the album cover's twin figures share some resemblances to Snake, and the imagery of twin opposing forces stemming from the same source facing away from each other has been noted to be a frequently conveyed imagery throughout the Metal Gear series. Examples include Zero and Big Boss, who are in a sense clones in that they both stem from the boss's will, and Solid and Liquid, who both stem from Big Boss's DNA. Another suspicious activity from Kojima is that he retweeted this post showing Big Boss figurines in production. Notice how 3 of the pictures show Big Boss figurines with their heads attached, while 1 picture shows Big Boss figurines without their heads. These images by themselves already have fans contemplating that there might be some truth to head transplantation playing a role in Phantom Pain. But as if that wasn't enough, the date in which this was retweeted was April 22nd, 2015, only 4 days after the Dr. Canavero rumors went viral through NeoGAF. Many fans are thinking that the timing is too perfect for this to be a mere coincidence. Another important coincidence that people notice is that Dr. Sergio Canavero's name didn't really begin to surface on major outlets or make public appearances until 2013, which was the year in which the Phantom Pain was outed as Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. It was also in 2013 that the term Heaven, which stands for Head Anastomos's Venture, surfaced for the first time. Prior to 2013, you can find Dr. Canavero in a couple of scientific articles and research papers, but not much else. To prove the validity of these claims, I googled Dr. Canavero and his Heaven project by filtering articles by year. When I googled Dr. Canavero in 2012, all I found about him from that year is that most of his research focused on central pain syndrome, with no trace of Heaven to be found. I then tried googling Dr. Canavero Heaven in 2012, and I only found 2 pages worth of results, and the handful of results that were related to Dr. Canavero's Heaven project for some reason linked to stuff that was released in 2013. Now, when I filtered search results to the year 2013, again, the year in which Phantom Pain was revealed to be Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, the guy was literally everywhere, with most articles about him and his research being published between June and July of 2013. And as I mentioned in my previous videos, the date of submission for the Heaven project was March 29th, 2013, 2 days after Kojima's GDC 2013 conference, in which Phantom Pain was unveiled as Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Crazy stuff, right? Now, these next coincidences are all ones that I think are a pretty big stretch. For example, fans noticed that one of Hideo Kojima's tweets was heading off. Get it? Heading off? There's also this picture showing the Doctor holding up 9 fingers, which fans have referenced to Phantom Pain's Doctor's quote, "I'm afraid it's been 9 years." And here is this other picture showing Canavero holding up 5 fingers, which people have associated with Metal Gear Solid 5. But human beings make all kinds of hand motions subconsciously while talking, so I doubt Dr. Canavero was sending secret messages with his hands. Yep, lots of crazy coincidences. And that was actually all that happened in April for MGS5. Things would really pick up in May. On May 12th, journalists all over the web would begin tweeting their first impressions of Phantom Pain from the MGS5 preview event. I published a video for that as well, compiling all the impressions and information from the tweets in one video. It's a pretty extensive video, so instead of showing it here, I've provided a link to it in the description below. On the same date, May 12th, child actor Sonari Joe confirmed via Twitter that he would be playing an African child soldier in Phantom Pain. Also on the same day, one of the journalists who attended the preview event would leak the names of the first 11 missions. I won't show them here out of respect for those who want to avoid spoilers, but the names themselves don't really spoil anything we don't already know. Then, on May 14th, the European press would begin tweeting their impressions from the preview event. I made a compilation video for these as well, but again, the videos are rather extensive, so I will just provide a link to them in the description below. Moving on May 20th, 2015, we would get our very first confirmation of the existence of forward operating bases through pictures of MGS5 pamphlets taken by a Reddit user. I made a video on this as well. This one's short enough to show here. Check it out. Provided by Reddit user Kai Sauce. Naturally, the text is all in Japanese, but fortunately, Clotsmith of HeavenFeels.com has taken the time to translate the text for us. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. Let's begin by looking at this first page. The text at the very top states, "The series' highest masterpiece, long awaited by everyone around the world, finally appears." Below that is a synopsis of Phantom Pain's story. The text is actually exactly the same as the one found in the Japanese MGS5 website, which translates quite closely to the synopsis found in the English website, so just read that if you want to know what it says. Next up is a list of characters and a brief description of each. From left to right, we have Snake, a hero called Big Boss, Kazuhira Miller, a plotter planning for the future, Ocelot, a rival who is living a lie, Emmerich, a geek with his ego in his hands, Quiet, a sniper deprived of her words, Eli, a child soldier who curses his fate, Skullface, commands XOF and a dead man without a face, and finally Code Talker, a sage robbed of his homeland. These taglines pretty much match up with their English counterparts, but these are direct Japanese to English translations, so there are some minor differences. The most compelling translation is Emmerich's. The English tagline reads, "A technocrat who stands his ground," which gives off a sort of honorable vibe, whereas the Japanese translation, "A geek or technocrat with his ego in his hands," gives off the vibe that Huey might be stubborn and egotistical rather than a commendable idealist. At the bottom we have this neat little timeline that shows when each game takes place. The text here reads, "The expansive Metal Gear saga comes to the 1984 stage with V." And that's pretty much it for the first page. Things get interesting in the second and last page. The title at the top reads, "An open-world Metal Gear Solid, a greatly evolved Mother Base system." The stuff on the left of this page talks about things we already know, like an open world that's 200 times larger than Ground Zero's, freedom of infiltration, the day and night cycle, real-time weather, the ability to Fulton things back to base, support buddies, etc. So we'll skip that. What I want to discuss is the stuff on the right. As a commander, your mother base will be tested, the title says, which is followed by a description that can be translated as follows. In the field, collect things such as people and resources and build up your base. As you expand Mother Base, many weapons and items can be developed, and in missions they can be supplied to you. It is possible to get different kinds of support, organize your troops, and send them out on missions. In addition, the forward operating base that you've customized can, in online battles, be infiltrated by other players. You heard right, folks. It seems as though the theory I discussed in the Mother Base infiltration analysis video about forward operating bases turned out to be true. It was all speculation back then, but this pamphlet seems to just about confirm that my assertion was right. Here is how the Mother Base system works according to this chart. At the center of it all is Mother Base, or the main operating base. On the single-player front, you can gather personnel and resources for your main operating base, and in return get all kinds of support in the field from Mother Base, with the Fulton system acting as the bridge. From Mother Base, players can also develop what are called forward operating bases. Notice how there aren't any arrows pointing from the forward operating base to the single-player stuff on the left, which already indicates that forward operating bases have their own purpose, that purpose being online base infiltration. So anyway, once a forward operating base is developed, you can head over to it via chopper, and then from there attack other players' forward operating bases and steal their resources. And yes, I do believe that you first have to physically head over to your FOB via chopper before you can deploy Snake to attack other players' FOBs. Notice how the attack arrow points from the FOB. There is no attack arrow pointing from the MOB. Furthermore, it makes sense gameplay-wise. Think of heading over to your FOB as changing from single-player mode to online mode. This way, one mode doesn't leak into the other. As for why I think you have to use a chopper to fly over there, the whole point of forward operating bases is to act as extensions to main operating bases, so they would have to be strategically positioned far away, and B, as I stated in my analysis video, I think we saw a glimpse of this during the developer walkthrough showcasing Mother Base, the main operating base. Notice how the first thing that the player does when the alarms notify him of an imminent attack is to head over to a chopper. My guess is that the alarms were ringing because his forward operating base was being attacked, forcing him to take a chopper there to deal with the threat. Also, if you recall from the base infiltration developer walkthrough, the other player Snake makes his first appearance on the landing pad with a chopper behind him, as if he had just arrived via chopper. This other Snake likely flew from his Mother Base's main operating base to defend his compromised forward operating base. Now, I don't believe that you have to be at your FOB for it to be attacked. Not only would that make enemy infiltration predictable, as players would always be present and alert of attacks, but also in the Mother Base gameplay demo, you can see the alarms going off inside the player's MOB. My theory is that as long as players aren't actively engaging in a mission, their FOB will be visible to the online community, allowing their FOB to be found through matchmaking or what have you. but once engaged in a single-player mission, it is my belief that the player's FOB will be made invisible to the online community, removed from online or matchmaking. This way, players who are engaged in the single-player missions or in pivotal story moments won't be inconvenienced or interrupted by invading players. The logistics of how the system works is still up in the air, but at least we now know for sure of the existence of main and forward operating bases, with the former acting as the single-player hub and the latter acting as a sort of online multiplayer hub. Moving on, one last thing I would like to take a look at is the top right section of the chart, which details what are called dispatch missions. This is probably Phantom Pain's version of Outer Ops. Players can dispatch Diamond Dog staff and vehicles to these dispatch missions, and reap rewards with every successful mission. Unfortunately, not much else is known about this gameplay element, but I do know that people who were invited to the MGS5 preview event had a chance to try it out, so I'm sure we'll find out more on June 9th when the embargo lifts. A day later, on May 21st, Konami would publish these images of the action figure for the Man on Fire, which would further convince people that this is clearly some form of Vulcan. One final thing to note about May is that I published our interviews with Paul Eiting and James Horan on May 2nd and May 10th respectively, who also provided some thoughts and insights into MGS5. Thus concluded the month of May. Now let's dive right into June. On June 9th, the embargo on the MGS5 preview event would lift, and from there, a tsunami of MGS5 impressions and information flooded the web. It wouldn't be until after E3 2015 that I would finally finish my hour-and-a-half compilation of all the information that came out of the preview event. No way I'm showing all that here, so if you'd like to revisit it, click on the link provided in the description below. 2 days later, on June 11th, 2015, the digital version of MGS5 The Phantom Pain would finally become available for pre-order on the PlayStation Network. Something that a lot of people noticed is that the game's description features a text that states, "In-game purchases optional." Microtransactions was a possibility that various journalists who attended the MGS5 preview event noticed in their play sessions, but it wouldn't become a sure thing until this Phantom Pain description was published. More reassuring details would be provided during E3 2015. And then, a few days later, Metal Gear Solid 5 would receive its amazing E3 2015 trailer on June 15th, 2015. Check it out.
I was born in a small village. I was still a child when we were raided by soldiers, foreign soldiers. Torn from my elders, I was made to speak their language. With each new post, my masters changed, along with the words they made me speak. With each change, I changed too. My thoughts, personality, how I saw right and wrong. Words can kill.
Time and again, the country was ruled by a foreign tongue. When he was a young boy, he lost his native language, the bedrock for any developing child. His country, his family, his face, his identity, everything was stolen from him.
Since ancient times, every civilization's ruler has had the same idea. When people unite under one will, they become stronger than the sum of their parts. And what do rulers use to bring people together? Language.
This world will become one. I have found the way. Race, tribal affiliations, national borders, even our faces will be irrelevant. The world that the boss envisioned will finally become a reality, and it will make mankind whole again.
America is a country of liberty, a meeting of immigrants. Instead of simply assimilating, its citizens live alongside others. So the Major sought a system that used information, words, to control the subconscious.
In his eyes, the greatest symbiotic parasite the world's ever known isn't microbial. It's linguistic. Words are what keeps civilization, our world, alive. Free the world, not by taking men's lives, but by taking their tongues.
With this, I'll rid the world of infestation. Sans lingua franca, the world will be torn asunder, and then it shall be free. The chain of retaliation is what will truly bind this world together as one.
Les enfants terribles, Zero called it.
And that's where I'd like to end Day 2 of the Metal Gear Solid 5 Countdown Retrospective. Thank you for tuning in. Let us know in the comments below your thoughts on all the new information that yielded leading up to E3 2015. And to be further updated on the MGS5 Countdown Retrospective, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.